It happens in a normal moment. Your phone lights up. Someone asks, "Are you okay?" And your thumb hovers over the honest answer. Because you could say it. You could say, "No, I'm drowning. I can't carry this alone." But your body tightens like you just stepped too close to an edge. So you type the sentence you've perfected. "I'm good. I'm just tired. I'll handle it." And everyone believes you because you're convincing, you're competent, you're composed. You're the one who never needs anything. But the truth is, you don't ask for help, not because you don't need it, but because somewhere along the way, needing it started to feel unsafe. And the cruel part is, it works. You do handle it. You do push through. You do stay calm. So people start to describe you with words that sound like compliments: reliable, low maintenance, so independent, the kind of person who doesn't need much. And you learn a dangerous equation. If you carry it alone, you get to belong. If you struggle out loud, you risk becoming too much. So you keep your voice steady. You keep your life impressive. You keep your needs small enough to fit in your pocket. And the world rewards you for disappearing in plain sight. But no one asks the question that matters. At what cost? Because this didn't start in adulthood. It started the first time you realized that needing someone changed how safe you were allowed to feel. Because if you're honest, you didn't become independent, you became careful. Somewhere early, you learned that asking came with a consequence. Maybe you were ignored. Maybe you were shamed. Maybe help arrived, but it arrived angry. So your nervous system made a decision before you had the words to explain it. Don't need too much. Don't take up space. Don't make it harder. And slowly, you stopped reaching outward, not because you didn't want connection, but because connection started to feel like a risk you couldn't afford. That's the part people don't see. Your strength isn't confidence, it's a strategy. And it usually starts in a home where someone had to be the stable one, and somehow that someone became you. And once you become the stable one, you start living like stability is something you have to manufacture. So you watch everything: tone shifts, pauses, facial expressions, the slightest change in energy, and your body is already translating it into danger. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, not overthinking, not being sensitive, a nervous system trained to scan, because unpredictability used to cost you. And this is where the refusal to ask for help really begins, because help means involvement. Involvement means variables. Variables mean you're not in control. So you choose the thing that feels safest. You choose self-reliance, not as a virtue, as a form of protection. And the world calls it discipline, but your body knows the truth. It's fear wearing a suit. So in adulthood, it doesn't look like panic. It looks like competence. You're the person who responds fast, the person who solves it before anyone even knows there was a problem, the person who says, "Don't worry, I've got it," even when you don't. You might be surrounded by people and still feel alone, because being needed feels familiar, but being held feels foreign. You don't rest, you recover. You don't cry, you process later. You don't ask, you adapt. You swallow it, you keep moving. And maybe you've convinced yourself this is just your personality, that you're just private, low maintenance, better on your own. But these aren't personality traits, they're coping strategies learned in a place where needing people had consequences. And this is where it starts to hurt the most, because you don't just refuse help at work, you refuse it in love. You become the easy one to be with, the understanding one, the one who says, "It's fine," before anyone even apologizes. You overfunction, you anticipate needs, you manage moods. You keep everything smooth, because smooth feels safe. But the problem is, intimacy requires receiving, and receiving feels like exposure, like a doorway you don't know how to stand in without flinching. So you give, and people call you loving, but underneath it, you're bracing, because part of you still believes if someone gets close enough to see your need, they'll leave. And that's how you end up in the same heartbreak in different rooms. Not because you don't want love, but because you were trained to survive it alone. Because beneath the independence, there's usually a belief, not a thought you chose, a rule your body memorized. If I ask for help, I'll owe something. If I lean on someone, they'll drop me. If I admit I'm not okay, I'll become too much. So you stay impressive, you stay useful, you keep ahead of your own collapse. And even when someone offers, your first instinct isn't relief, it's suspicion. What do they want? What will this cost me? When will it be used against me? That's the wound right there. Not that you don't have people, but that your nervous system still treats support like a trap. So you keep choosing the loneliness you can control over the closeness you can't predict. And this is why even when your life looks stable, you don't feel safe, because your nervous system isn't chasing happiness, it's chasing control. So you work harder than you need to, you stay busy on purpose, you keep your schedule loud enough that you can't hear what you feel. And people call you ambitious, but what it really is self-abandonment with good branding. You might hit a goal and feel nothing, not because you're ungrateful, but because your body doesn't register success as safety. Rest feels wrong, stillness feels suspicious, and when things finally calm down, you don't relax, you brace. Because if you grew up learning that peace was temporary, then part of you will always be waiting for the next disaster, even in a room where nothing is happening. So what do you do with this? Because just ask for help sounds simple until your whole body hears it as danger. This isn't a mindset issue, it's a safety issue. Some part of you still believes, if I need someone, I'll be disappointed. If I rely on someone, I'll be punished. If I fall apart, I'll be abandoned. And maybe that belief kept you alive once. Maybe it made you competent. Maybe it made you impressive. But it also made you lonely. So the first step isn't fixing, it's witnessing, because you can't heal what you keep minimizing. You don't need to be less independent, you need to be honest about what your independence is protecting you from. Because the real tragedy was never that you became strong, it's that you became strong alone. And that's the moment you start doing something different. Not by forcing yourself to trust everyone, but by finally turning to the part of you that learned trust was unsafe. The part that still flinches at softness, the part that still thinks receiving is a debt, the part that still waits for love to come with a price. And instead of pushing that part down again, you stay. So ask yourself, gently, no performance, no perfection, what did I learn would happen if I asked for help? Did you learn you'd be ignored? Did you learn you'd be shamed? Did you learn that your needs were too much and love had conditions? Because that's the part that's still running your life, not your adult competence, your early survival. And maybe no one came back for the version of you that needed softness, so now you do. You don't force trust, you practice safety. You start small, one honest sentence, one moment of letting someone show up without earning it. Because you were never bad at asking, you were trained to believe you didn't deserve an answer. But you do. And the day you stop proving you can do it alone is the day you finally get your life back.